So I started going to church because I had a lot of questions, questions that I wanted to explore and find some answers to. I came across Student Link Up, which I went on and found G2, and then met up with Adam, and then I arranged to attend G2 when it was in the city. And that was my first experience really of exploring those questions that I had. And since that first attendance, it's been a massive change for me. It's opened up doors that I never considered opening before. And it's given me that sense of community, and growing up I've not necessarily felt comfortable asking those questions around certain friends that I grew up with. I didn't feel comfortable exploring my faith, and going to church has allowed me that ability to explore and feel comfortable.
So I was brought up in a Christian family, went to church basically all my life, went to Sunday school, all that jazz. But I properly first chose to become a Christian and to go to church for myself at about the age of 16 or so, after a Christian summer camp. And then I'd say again, I chose to come to church when I was coming to uni, and one of the things I really wanted to do was to get stuck into a church and really involved, which I'm so glad I did, and gave me a really wonderful structure to my week. And then for the third time, chose to come to church last year, when a lot was happening in my life. I lost contact with certain people, I had health issues, there was a lot happening, but I knew that staying grounded in a church would give me stability, would keep my faith strong and healthy and thriving, which was definitely what I needed. And church has got me through this past year. It's given me a safe space, a quiet space to be on my own alone, given me a few hours in a busy house to take time for myself and to, remember why I exist, which is to have a faith with God, essentially.
Well, funny enough, I've been going to church since before I was born. So we used to go to St. George's in Leeds, and then when we moved to York, we wanted to find a good church that went up in the afternoon, because if we were in the morning, I had football matches on a morning. I didn't really want to choose between church and football at this point.
Okay, so it's been a bit of a U-turn really. I struggled with many things growing up. My mental health was quite bad at one stage when I was about 18, 19. I've struggled with not necessarily addiction, but issues that were difficult to face. And since knowing Jesus, my life has completely changed around. I've gone from, facing those battles with mental health, the bad part of that, to becoming a lot more positive. And I ended up becoming a police officer, which was something that I never thought I'd end up doing. And looking back on my life 4 years ago, I wouldn't have seen myself doing what I've done today. And just the peace that I've found. I mean, 2021 itself hasn't been a great year for me. There's been a lot of loss, a lot of grief, but the peace that I've found through knowing Jesus and laying it all down at his feet, it's you can't describe it. It's aphonic, really. You find yourself in times where you don't know how to cope, and you give it to God, and there's this peace, you feel comfortable in the midst of everything.
Jesus has made all the difference in my life imaginable. because this past year has brought with it a lot of loss of relationships, a lot of pain, a lot of mourning, a lot of self-discovery too. There are things that I never expected to happen this year that really have, and massive, massive life changes. And I know that without Jesus in my life, like, there's no reason to keep going, essentially. Having Christ means that I know that there's someone looking over me, looking above this all, who is overseeing my every step, who hasn't abandoned me. It's not just me walking through life alone and crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. It's someone far, far greater than I could ever imagine, putting his hand on my shoulder and leading me through life, even when I don't see it, so that in years to come, I can look back at basically this past year as being the most change-filled one of my life. And I know that in the future, I can look back and I'll be able to pinpoint and go, that moment there, that was God working. That moment there, that was also God working. And I've seen that in my past, and I'll see that in my future. Yeah, essentially, I'm weak. I'm a weak human. I'm a flawed human. I stumble and I trip and I doubt. And on my own 2 feet, I couldn't get through life. And yet somehow I have got through life. And in my mind, the only reason that I have got through life is because there must be something greater and someone greater looking over me. And the only logical conclusion is that that is a great God who loves and protects me, and is not just a God, but is a father who loves me deeply, knows me intimately, and holds my hands through all the troubles, all the storms, because he knows there's something amazing waiting for me. And I trust him entirely that he will bring to fruition whatever he has planned for me.
Well, I always like listening to worship songs, and it's normally before I go to bed, I listen to a pastor, and like, God has helped me through him. It's like I've learned how to view people in the world, because like I normally pray to God about annoying people at school, and like I remember one talk, it's about how they're creating God's image. So like we all deserve respect because we're human beings, and we should all have respect because we're made in God's image. And he's like helped me through listening to those talks.
So I'm getting baptised because I want to declare this is what I want to do. I want to give my life to Jesus, give my life to God, and explore and just surrender myself to his plans, and yeah, see what lies ahead.
So I'm getting baptised because I've wanted to for so many years, but I've always been waiting for sort of the perfect moment almost. I almost got baptised when I was 16, but didn't quite feel comfortable in the church I was in. I almost got baptised 2 years ago in my first year, but COVID came and said, no, that's not happening yet. And I'm actually really glad I waited, because my faith today is so different from the faith I had 2 years ago and the faith I had when I was 16. But essentially I'm getting baptised because I found a family in this church who love and protect and support me no matter what, a family with who I can be vulnerable. They are brothers and sisters, even the ones I don't know, and that's just the most wonderful thing ever. And I'm getting baptised because I believe with every fibre of my being that there is a God who exists, a Christian God who exists, and who loves and who looks after me. There is a son who came to this earth 2,000 odd years ago and died for my sins. And there is a strong belief in me that there is something greater, not only in my life, but in the future, in this world, in York, that is waiting. And I'm getting baptised because I want to be a part of that future, and I want to shout to the world that even though I'm weak, even though I'm just human and stumble and have stumbled and have done things I regret, and I see moments in my past that I really, really don't like, despite all that, I'm a child of God and I am loved by a father, and I just want to proclaim that to the world. And that's why I'm getting baptised, because I have a father who takes my hand and he leads me all the way through the fire, because he knows there's an end. and he knows there's somewhere great for me to land, essentially. And yeah, I can't wait for the future and all that it holds for me as a child of God.
Well, I want to discover Jesus more for myself, so like, because mum and dad have just been taking me to church and I've kind of followed their way, but I want to pave my own path in discovering God and exploring his love. So I want to change, and I know I need Jesus' help to become a better person, and I know Jesus loves me, so I want to embrace the love and become a better person, so that's why I want to get baptised.